Right, so a couple of the gotchas for creating your own sound disc from other tone library discs. And there are probably more gotchas than I'm going to sort of come up with at the moment. But the gotchas are around things like PCM sample data. Has the PCM sample data been moved onto the machine? Have you got enough space for the PCM sample data? So if you are using tones that use a lot of PCM sample data, then you could run out of space on here because there's only a limited amount of memory on the T1 to handle PCM sample data. And I haven't gone into how to manipulate the PCM sample data at the moment because that's kind of a sort of an area too far for sort of simple stuff that I'm trying to sort of relay at this point. But that could be a quite a big gotcha if you haven't got the right base PCM samples on the machine to actually do what you're trying to do. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. The other thing to be careful of when you're creating your own combis is you need to kind of understand the mapping of the combis that you have to the combis you want to retain. So what do I mean by that? So for argument's sake, if I go and look at 00 Cosmic Rain, okay? So the combis for Cosmic Rain are A20 and B00. Now, in creation of the disc that I've just created, I've just overwritten B00. So I'm now not getting the Aeroglide sweep, which was the second tone on Cosmic Rain. So effectively I've broken that combi because I've written another program into 00 that has changed the tonal quality of that particular combi. So when you are making your own combination disc up, and it's quite a laborious thing to do, but you need to map out all the combis that you want to keep and all the programs associated with those combis so that you don't overwrite one of those positions with the new combi and the new programs that you're going to try and import. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, you can do that with tools like PCG Tools, where you can take a sysx dump of everything that's on here and move that into PCG Tools, and that will allow you to map all this stuff out automatically. It's got more sophisticated as we've gone along, because when you sort of move up to the sort of more the later keyboards, the Tritons, the Trinities, the Oasis and the Kronos, and Nautilus. I'm not sure whether PCG Tools works for Nautilus, but you know, it's a bit more complicated. But at this point, you can effectively do a sysx dump and use PCG Tools to allow you to get that mapping right and remap various bits and bobs around. You can also use it to move programs around. So for argument's sake, if you wanted to move a program in 50 that was in A57 and you want to say, actually I want that program now to be in A12, you can do that in that Tools. You can also do it on here. But I've kind of given you the basics of how you build a combination disc up. But there is a lot of work to be done in the background, and that's really where the gotchas come in, which is mapping out what you've already got, so you don't do what I've just demonstrated, which is break one of the pre-existing combinations. What I'm hoping is that gives you an insight on how the T-series synthesizers work. They all work the same way. If you've got a T1 or a T2EX or a T3X, that effectively has the same memory composition as the T1. The T2 and the T3 don't have the extended memory board. That was an optional extra, which is how the T2EX and T3EX came along, because that then became a standard feature of the machine. But this is what really made this what I consider took it to the next level. It took the M1 and made the M1 better, because you had the ability, without having to do sysex dumps, without having to buy expensive memory cards. And remember, back in the day, memory cards were expensive. I can't remember exactly how much they were, but I seem to have a number of about £100 in my head. If you wanted a memory card, it was going to cost you £100. Well, if you were a musician and you needed those memory cards, you probably would go and buy them. But you could quite easily have 10 or more memory cards with your program data and your sequence data on them. That's £1,000. It's quite an investment. When you consider, you would have probably paid, the number escapes me now, but you would have paid many thousands of pounds for the synthesizer, and then you've got to pay another £1,000 for the storage device, for what you had. All of a sudden, along came the T1 with floppy disks. These things were $1 a disc at this point. So made a considerable difference in the amount of money that you would have to spend to create and save your samples and your sounds and other stuff. The other gotcha is, if you do manipulation and you're going to use sysex, sysex does not transfer PCM samples. Okay, so whatever PCM samples you load onto here to manipulate, the sysex will not dump those onto a computer. They can only be backed up using a floppy disk. I think they're the two key gotchas that I probably want to just mention here, just so you're aware that when you start manipulating stuff, be aware. The other kind of top tip here is obviously write to a blank disk. All right, create your own blank disk. Never overwrite these disks, because you'll really be upset if you do. And the other thing is, if you look through there, should be actually daylight through both sides of those. The memory protect on this disk is on. Okay, always make sure the stuff you want to keep memory protect is on. If you want to write, you see that there is no daylight being shown through this side. The memory protect is off. And on that note, live long, prosper. See you next time. Bye bye.